before we begin, how are you doing? Like, how is life where you are? How's your family? Things like
Doing good
that.
today. I'm trying to keep things very like present moment because
Yeah.
like when I think about how I've been in the past, 4 months since COVID hit, it's like too much. I feel like I've just been through like a journey, like we all have. Just trying to keep our heads on, and for me, trying to make work, and content for the releases, and trying to stay inspired and feel motivated and all those things. Today, I feel great.
That's great. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Toronto, they're doing really good, all things considered.
yeah.
Way back in March, we did the state of emergency and things were all serious and things like that. And I felt a little demotivated to do interviews as well because I love doing them in person. But I think for the past like month or so, I've been getting like geared towards doing Zooms and getting used to it. So it's been pretty
Yeah.
good so far.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. I think that I prefer this like definitely over a phone call. Like I like a good
Yeah,
FaceTime,
me
like
too.
face interview, and then also for shows, I definitely I'm trying not to think about it too much, but I definitely am feeling stressed out thinking about the virtual world and having to um, share my music primarily that way.
Yeah.
As far as performance goes, like I really do thrive in a live setting. Yeah.
Um, Now, like just to start, I just want to introduce myself. You pronounced my name perfectly.
Cool.
My name's Jibril. This is Studio One. It's a platform I made way back in November. The idea is, I get interview artists that I would like to interview, international acts like yourself, acts around Canada and local acts in Toronto, putting a highlight on them. I wrote for Clash and the 405 and things like that,
Cool.
but I really wanted to build my own platform. So this has been an amazing experience, and I'm really happy to get you on. Um,
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Before we begin, can you just briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll just get started.
Yeah, I'm Zella Day, and I'm reporting live from my kitchen in Los Angeles, coming out this Friday with 5 songs on it. Each single, except for one, has been released over the course of the past 4 months. And that along with visualizers and videos. And so there's been a whole visual world created during quarantine, which has been very medicinal for me during this time. And that's who I am, and that's what I've got going on.
Amazing. Now I know your roots. You performed in a cafe in your hometown. What was
Yeah.
it? What was it in? I know you were really young at the time. Where did the confidence come from to perform in front of people? Was it family support or just?
I've seen videos of myself performing at that age, and believe me when I say there was no confidence. Oh man, those are hard. Those are hard to watch. I just love to sing, and my grandmother ran the coffee shop called More More Coffee House. I'm Swedish, and my grandmother's mother's mother in Swedish, and so More More Coffee Shop was the spot for live music in Pinetop, Arizona, where I was raised. My mom owned a paint your own pottery studio that was connected to the coffee shop, and so me and my little sister spent all of our time there. That was our after school hang, our before school hang, and that was where I played my first show when I was 9 years old. And it was the family support and encouragement. I picked up a guitar again when I was 9, and started learning Bob Dylan covers, and there was live music at the coffee shop every weekend, and I was sort of immersed in that world as a child, and it felt safe, and it was safe to experiment and learn and put myself out there and be vulnerable, and I was
And
little, so
and
there wasn't like the confidence of a performer.
yeah,
I was like, I had a bad haircut, like mullet, because I was getting my haircut at Walmart, I'm sure at that time. And yeah, those first videos are embarrassing, and they'll probably be
they're
posted to the internet somewhere someday.
they're
Sure.
part of the journey. They're the cool
Of course.
they're the cool parts you look back on.
Uh-huh.
But all the while, as you progressed and got older, how was it? I guess balancing school and then having this realization that music wasn't something that you were doing because you loved it or it was like a hobby, like you were going to pursue it as a career? How was that?
That's a great question. I started traveling out to LA first with my mom. I was really young. I was 14 at the time. I have family in Long Beach, and so I had written a record independently when I was 13, and kind of finished that record, and it's just an acoustic album. And there were a lot of family friends that were like, do you have representation for Zella? Sort of what are the next steps?
Yeah.
And through friends, we had a couple of meetings get set up here in LA. And first trip out here, I met my first manager, JP Williams. And that kind of started the snowball effect of, meeting this person and that person. And so I was sitting in a lot of rooms, meetings with my guitar, playing my music. And so that was kind of my first toe dip into the industry. And it was kind of an involvement of time and resources and songwriting. And I started traveling to Nashville when I was around 15. Still with my mom, I would go for a week. So I was in school, and then I would go for a week, and I would have writing sessions every day. So it's where I wrote, had my first writing sessions, wrote with John Paul White from the Civil Wars, wrote with Megan Trainor, funny enough, out there, because she was signed. I think she's still with Yellow Dog, but I feel like got my chops up there in Nashville. That kind of lasted for a year, me traveling back and forth and continuing to be in school. But I think my mom was really good at keeping my expectations grounded. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The industry's really, really crazy. The only thing that you can control is what you're making. And so that was my main primary focus was developing myself as a young person and school. So, I wasn't pulled too heavily out of school as far as like touring and all that stuff. That didn't happen until later. But I definitely did start growing in that direction from a pretty young age.
And I think it was maybe a month ago or 2 months ago, I think in June, you released Kicker 5 years ago. So now you're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of that record. Do you remember the moment, I guess, whether it was finally having that album out when it was 2015, or in that journey where you sort of realized, okay, this is it. This is what I'm doing. This is the journey now. Do you feel like you have a moment?
When I moved from Pinetop to Long Beach with my mother and my sister, because my parents separated and then we relocated to Long Beach, and things just got more serious. I started working out here at a studio called Wax, and with my producers Wally Gable and Zandy Berry at the time. And I would say the real moment for me where I was like, okay, I'm like a professional artist.
Yeah.
This isn't just a hobby anymore, and it's is when I signed a publishing deal when I was 18. And so before anything happened, I was, a signed writer. And that was a really great step. I think even just mentally for me to think about my journey and my craft in a way where, being off the stage, even there's a lucrative side of the business that's actually quite sustainable. And as a writer, there's a lot of things that I could do. So I think that was probably the moment for me when I was 18 and I signed that publishing deal, and I was like, okay, cool. I feel protected. I feel like more protected, and I feel like my songs are protected, and I can really work and make money doing this. And that's kind of, that's the side of the business, right? It's like art and commerce. It's like the less romantic version of what it is to really make this into your career. And I've been really fortunate to be able to do that and just focus on music. And so that was the moment.
Yeah. And I know you've released Kicker, the independent record, way back, and you released a few singles just in the build up to this new EP. Instead of deep diving into those things, how important for you is the songwriting in the records that you release? Like, how important for you is that process?
The songs are everything. The songs are everything. I'm always kind of split down the middle, asking myself, what do I enjoy more? Do I enjoy being in the studio, or do I enjoy performing the music on stage? And it's like 50-50. I mean, the writing and every lyric and every twist and turn and the arrangements and everything that goes into the songwriting is like that's it's all encompassing. It's just what I do. It's what I'm going to continue to do for the rest of my life. And I'm trying to, with each project, with each EP, with each record, really grow as a writer and as somebody who's creating a sound. And it's hard to create your stamp and your imprint in a world where everything has kind of been done. But I can only hope that if I'm fighting to find my real, intrinsic, authentic self in my music, that the writing is going to reflect that, and hopefully is going to, be a strong foundation for me as an artist for many years to come. But I also love performing. And that's kind of the moment. It's like you create this world and you create this language on your record, and then you get to go live inside of that world for a few hours, at a show where nobody can interrupt you, nobody can reach at you. It's like it's true meditation and connection with things that you make. So, the writing is the most important thing. It's the only thing.
I figured right. I always ask artists when it comes to artists that do their own writing. Usually ask like in the vulnerability in that and the way that works. Because personally, before I'm a music journalist, I'm a fan, so I'm always interested in how artists can be so vulnerable in their records and speak about their things like that. But I know this is about to be a little bittersweet because I want you to talk about concerts. For you, I know you performed at Coachella and you toured with Lana Del Rey. Talk to me about some highlights over the years for shows.
Some highlights over the years. I think maybe it was 2 years ago now, going on 3. I can't believe how quickly time has passed. But I went through a huge transition in my professional life. I was signed to Hollywood Records and then got off that label, and that took a really long time. And so I actually wasn't really allowed to play shows for a bit there. And there was a lot that had to be worked out on the legal side, which was a big learning experience, and happy to have it, under my belt. But there was a show that I played at the Moroccan Lounge downtown LA, which was in the neighborhood I was living in at the time. I hadn't played a show in a while. I was going through kind of, the legalities of getting out of a label. And then I had a friend who offered me a place to play as a guest. At this show, and my fans here in LA knew that I was going to be playing the show, and it was really communal feeling. Felt like everybody really showed up to support me, and I really needed it at the time, because I think that for a lot of artists, me included, there are moments in the process of figuring yourself out in the industry where it gets really scary. And there's a lot of room for self-doubt, or, what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be in this industry? Is it for me?
Yeah.
And so a big highlight was that show. I played that show, and it was really encouraging, and I needed the support. And it is a relationship, that you have with your audience. And it was just such a great reminder that it's what I should be doing. So that's a highlight. And then another highlight, I'll keep it to 2 more.
Okay.
Since you mentioned Lana, I mean, she's so wonderful and has been so welcoming to me and supportive. She invited me to play at the Santa Barbara Bowl. And that was a really funny one because I wasn't expecting that. And she kind of just called me like 6 days before the show and was like, do you want to play? And I was like, well, yeah, I want to play, but like I wasn't really that prepared.
Yeah.
And so I just went up there. I drove up there with my guitar and just opened the Santa Barbara Bowl with just me and my guitar, and that was cool. That was really special. And then Coachella was definitely a highlight kicker. That was kind of like the galvanization of all the hard work and all the preparations and all the bricks laid that it takes to get to a stage like that. And then, I was so ready, and like all of my gears and my knobs, they were all polished, and I was ready to like give the performance of a lifetime at that point in my career. And it was beautiful. I still look at photos now, and I'm just like, wow, what a blessing. What a blessed, charmed little life, Zella Day.
Now, moving forward with this new EP that's coming out, not so much about like how does it feel to release this and things like that, but for you personally, what do you want? I guess the people that enjoy your music. I know you don't like the word fans. You kind of like I read an interview where if they like.
Yeah, I have a hard time. It just always makes me feel like a narcissist.
Prince. Prince.
It's like, oh god, fans.
Prince did an interview as well where he broke down the word fan as fanatics, and he didn't like the word because it seemed.
Well, it's kind of derogative. Like it's to be like a fanatic of something. It feels like a little obsessive, right? Yeah. And I don't like to think of anybody that is listening to my music that way. Yeah, so exactly. It's just, but yeah. But what you're asking, like, what do I hope that listeners take away from the EP?
For you personally, because I know it's been a while since you've released a body of work. So for you personally, how is this going to feel that it's going to be out in the world, and what do you want, listeners to get from it?
Well, the EP feels like a kind of a weight lifted off of my chest as far as something that I've been working on for quite a long time. And not even just these songs in particular, the whole transition in my career into adulthood, essentially. I mean, when I wrote all those songs for Kicker, I was a teenager, and so you're figuring yourself out, and you're writing music, and it's released into the world, and so people are metabolizing you as like kind of as this kid. And I've learned so much and grown so much as a young woman, and the core of the music is just a bit more collected and poised, and is, I think, just I'm setting a precedent for the music to come. So yeah, I think that if anything, the people that like this music, or my old fans, if we're going to use that word, some of them, it's been interesting in reading the comments and kind of getting a gauge of people's responses. Not everybody likes it because it is different than what was released before with Kicker. And this is kind of a moment in my career where I'm growing one way, and I hope that people want to come with me. And I'm also aware that there are some people that are not going to want to.
Yeah. And it's okay.
And so it's just a moment of clarity. And so I hope that for myself, I can have that. And also for, my listeners, they can also have a bit more clarity of my sound and persona and what I'm trying to build and make. And I think it creates more of a picture of what I feel Zella Day is. And so, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. And on that note too, a lot of artists, when they release new albums or things like that, their sound changes, and they go through this thing where, like you were saying, like it sounds different, so fans might not like that, and things like that. But I think for an artist, and even as yourself, I think it's important to grow as an artist as you get older. It makes
absolutely.
But I think there's always that like nostalgic feeling when you're a fan of something, and you always want to, instead of the music, you want it to stay the same. You actually want the feeling to stay the same, and that's where that conflict always comes from.
That's a really good point, because I feel like even this EP, and I finished a full length recently. That's going to be coming out at the top of next year, probably. It's definitely infused with everything that I am. So it's very honest, and that's the best thing I can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Is just be honest and not try to do or be anything that I'm not. And Kicker, at the same time, like when I wrote that record, I was that person, and I was honestly portraying where I was and who I was at that time, and I'm doing that now. So, it's all a process, but every step along the way is so necessary. I wouldn't be here without Kicker. So,
And usually when I end interviews and I talk to an artist, I'll ask them, how's the rest of the year looking, shows and things like that. But because of COVID and things like that, I've changed my last question. So for you personally, I know going through the labels, things like that, and growing as a person. I know I recognize that we were actually both born in 1995. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm February. You're March.
Yeah. Are you February what?
February 10.
Okay, cool. So what sign are you?
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Yeah.
Cool.
But turning 25. For you personally, how have you, I guess, just grown as a person since this musical journey? And I know that's a big question, so just to like put it more focused, what's one thing you've learned for yourself? Not more so the music, just for yourself.
The reoccurring lesson that keeps coming back around is I've had a lot of lessons in patience. And I think that there's really a time to push and to be active. And then there's also a time to see how, the dust settles, and to have faith in what you're doing and who you are. And I feel like I've really been tested over the years in that thing. And I think that my patience is getting stronger, hopefully, and not trying to rush my process. I'm so proud of the music because I'm so sure about what it is and where it's going and what I'm communicating at this stage in my life. And sometimes the best things can't be rushed. So I would say, if anything, in my young adult life, it's patience.
Perfect.
Patience. And to not freak out and just dig your claws into everything and what the fuck everything.
Yeah. Especially
just
us turning.
Kind of let it go sometimes,
Especially us turning 25. There's always this 25 is the big.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I know. We're like an exact quarter. We're like
right.
a little shiny quarter of the way through. Right. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Right.
I'm not like young 20s anymore. I'm like headed towards 30.
Right.
And I've always been told as like a young person, like, wow, Zella, you seem so much older than your age. And like, that's going to stop soon, I feel like. Or they're going to be like, oh, wow, you are 30.
Yeah, you're old.
And I'll be like, wow, I am 30. I've always felt 30 since I was 14.
But thanks again for coming on the platform Studio One. Been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation.
So nice talking to you.
And congratulations early for this new EP. And
thank you.
And hopefully when the world spins on its axis again, I'll see you live, and can't wait for that.
Yeah. We'll be up in Canada.
Perfect. All right. Have a good rest of your day.
See you later.
Bye.
Studio One.